السلام أعلى علي فوق عرش لا ينام والمتعالي والمحيط الظاهر الباطن الأول وهو الآخر.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد, we're going to start our lesson today talking about Allah's name, الملك. الملك and also المالك and المليك. What's the meaning? The linguistic meaning is derived actually from الملك. الملك derived from الملك. It means kingdom, and also we can also make it feminine. Of course, the word, the linguistic word, Malik, Malika. If you have a queen will be Malika. Malik is king. So it's derived from the word al-mulk. Also a sultan. Sultan has a similar meaning. It's a synonym. And Allah's kingdom, you say mulkullah. You can also say malakut for kingdom of Allah. And malk, there's milk, there's malik, and there's malik. So it's someone who has kingdom. That's what it means. Sheikh Ibn Sayyidi. Actually, I don't know exact the haraka of Sayyidi, but the name of the Sheikh Ibn Sayyidi is written here. Say al-Malik. Sorry, al-Malk, al-Mulk, al-Milk. It means to own something, to have something and have power over it. Power of its management. Tamallakahu means he owned it by force. Tamallakahu. Wa amlaktuhu ash-shay'a. I gave him ownership to the thing. So things like that. Al-Malakut, it means kingdomship. Kingdom, it means kingdom, but is specific to Allah. We don't use it for human being. And it is a gerund of the verb malaka. They just added ta there to make it malakut, just like jabara, jabarut, rahmah, rahamut. It is a special type of gerund. Allah mentioned in the ayah, he said, أَفَلَمْ يَنْظُرُوا فِي مَلَكُوتِ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. Al-ayah. He said, do they not look in the dominion of the heavens and the earth? So the usage of malakut here, you've seen it. The word malik is mentioned in the Quran 5 times. The word king is mentioned 5 times in the Quran. One ayah here. Anyway, I'll mention the ayah. It's not here on the board. فَتَعَالَى اللَّهُ الْمَلِكُ وَالْحَقِّ. He is so high level. Al-Malik al-Haq, the king of Haq. Surah Taha, ayah 114. And the next ayah, huwa Allahu alladhi la ilaha illa huwa al-Malik. He is Allah, there is no God except him, the king. Al-Quddusu, the most holy. The third ayah, Malikin Nas, the king of mankind. So is that 5 times? We don't really mention all the 5 times. We mention some of them. That's it, yeah. Okay, the word Malik. Malik means the owner. And it's been mentioned in the Quran only twice. So Malik Yawmiddin, the only owner of the day of recompense or the day of resurrection. Also in another ayah, قل اللهم مالك الملك. The ayah. O Prophet sallallahu O Prophet, he said, say, O Prophet, Allah is telling the Prophet to say, O Allah, Lord over all authorities. So it means the owner of all the authorities, a kingdom. As you notice, I'm only translating parts of the ayah, only the parts that we need to give evidence. Yeah, so no need to translate all of it. Also, this was mentioned, Al-Malik, the name Al-Malik. It was not mentioned except once in the Quran, and it is in this surah, Surah Qamar, ayah 54-55. He said, Innal muttaqina fi jannatin wa nahar. Indeed, the righteous will be amid gardens and rivers. في مقعد صدق عند مليك مقتدر. At the seat of honor, in the presence of the most powerful sovereign. So as you can see, Malik also has a similar meaning, same root as king. But Malik, according to the linguists in Arabic grammar, Arabic morphology, it means it is actually a form, it's taking a form of sifa mushabbaha, because from Arabic verbs, you can actually derive different forms, conjugate in different ways to produce different meaning. Last week, we talked about sighatul mubalagha. When we said ar-Rahman, it comes from rahima, and then it became Rahman. It means the attribute there is so emphasized, very intensive. Sigha al-mubalagha, Rahman. And if you wanted to just say if you just wanted to show that this person is just the doer of the action, you would use ismul fa'il, like Rahim. Here as well, Malik is king, but Malik is sifa mushabbaha. The meaning of sifa mushabbaha, that shows that this action or this attribute is there for a long time in a person. It's not just a mere, it's just an action happening once. For example, if someone drinks something, the verb shariba, to drink, you say sharib, the person who drinks, but that means the action has happened from him, but it doesn't mean it's permanent. When it's permanent or long term, then we use sifa mushabbaha. Another example, like jaw'an, hungry. This is for a long time. Jaw'an, because most of the time he's hungry or something like that. And sometimes you can just use it. I mean, when they use it, jaw'an, if someone is at that time he's jaw'an, but it's not just once. It's continuous until he eats. Also atshan. So we do have these forms called sifa mushabbaha. So Malik is one of them. Of course, more details should come from studying the Arabic Nahu and Sarf. And the meaning with respect to Allah, the meaning of these names, Az-Zajjaj, one of the scholars, said that Al-Malik means the one whose order is implemented. His instructions are implemented in his kingdom, because not every owner, his order is obeyed. Because if you are an owner, of something, it doesn't mean that you have power over it, or you have power. Of course, it's yours, but it doesn't necessarily mean that whatever you say is going to be done. For example, a young kid, a young boy, or a young girl could own something, but they don't have a say in it, because the one who's responsible for the possession is the guardian of the child. So not every owner has the power to manage it, but a king has the power to manage his possessions or his kingdom. And also, he said that Allah is the real owner of everything, because other people, everyone else who owns anything, is they got the power from Allah, so they benefited from Allah. Al-Khattabi say Al-Malik means king, who has got all attributes. Sorry, he said king. Al-Malik is a king who owns everything, but Malik is more specific, just owns it. Al-Layth, he said Al-Malik huwa Allah, is Allah. Allah is Al-Malik. And Malikul Muluk is the king of kings. He's got all ownership, and he's the owner of the day of judgment. Ibn Jarir said Al-Malik means, the name of Allah means, there's no king above him, and there's nothing, everything is below him in level. Ibn Kathir said, Huwa Allahu alladhi la ilaha illa huwa al-Malik. He said it means he owns everything and has power of management without any resistance, or no resistance. And when they say that all ownership is for Allah only, no partnership in the ownership, can be seen in some ayahs clearly. As you can see, Surah Shura 49, he said, Lillahi mulku samawati wal ardi yakhluqu ma yasha. Lillahi mulku samawati wal ard. To Allah belongs the kingdom of the heavens and the earth. So as you can see, he creates what he wills. He bestows female offspring upon whom he wills, and bestows male offspring upon whom he wills. Also in another ayah, قُلْ لِلَّهِ الشَّفَاعَةُ جَمِيعًا لَهُ مُلْكُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. Say, to Allah belongs all intercessions. He is the sovereign of the heavens and the earth. Then to him you shall be brought back. So these are ayahs showing that all ownership is belonging to Allah. And moving forward from there, تبارك الذي بيده الملك. Blessed be he in whose hand is the dominion. In another ayah, له ملك السماوات والأرض يحيي ويميت وهو على كل شيء قدير. He is the kingdom of the heavens and the earth. It is he who gives life, causes death, and he is able to do all things. So he mentioned his kingdom, and then he mentioned as well his ability over it, that there's nothing that he can't do. Also in Ayatul Kursi, وسع كرسيه السماوات والأرض ولا يؤوده حفظهما وهو العلي العظيم. He said his kursi extends over heavens and earth, and he feels no fatigue in guarding and preserving them. And he is the most high, the most great, the most great. So now, as the judge said that the root of the word the mulk in speech means to tie. Yes, the root is actually to tie. So if you say ملكت العجين إذا شددتك وإملاك المرأة هذا إنما هو ربطها. Now sometimes, in marriage in Arabic they say ملكت أملكتك. I gave you milk of this daughter. If I know a father is giving his daughter away and they use the word أملكت, it means, I'm putting this tie and giving you the responsibility. Yes, also is mentioning that the ownership, it doesn't mean power like Malik, but Malik, kingdom, or Malik, it means king. Also, it comes with power. So like we said before, someone who's not able can own something. Okay, there's another discussion as well. What is more effective, or what is more higher in meaning, king or owner? Of course, as Shawkani said, there's a lot of opinion. There's difference of opinion. Which one is stronger in praise, to call someone king or owner? And there's also difference of opinion there, but I'll just choose what Shawkani chose. Yeah, no time to mention all the opinions, because the one opinion says that to say the owner is higher in praise. وقيل مالك. Yeah, it was said that. Okay, let's just mention first opinion first. It said the king is higher level because every king is owner, but not every owner is king. Also, because the order of king is implemented on the owner. So a king can give an order and say that your car should be taken away. So a person who lives in that kingdom is just an owner, not a king. So the king has power over your possessions. So that's why king is higher level. That's one opinion. And he said Abu Ubaid and Al-Mubarrad and also Zamakhshari thinks that this opinion is strongest. And also it was said that Malik is stronger, the owner is stronger, because you can be the owner of people. I mean, I'm not talking about human being. If someone is owner, can own everything. So if you praising Allah to be the owner is a stronger praise than king. And the king is stronger praise for creation. So if you call a creation king, then you're praising them more. This is just one opinion as well, and this was chosen by Al-Qadi Abu Bakr ibn al-Arabi. And then Ash-Shawkani said, rahimahullah, all of them, the correct opinion is that each of the attributes has a speciality that is not in the other. The owner is able to do things that the king is not able to do. Because the owner can sell, can give a gift, can free a slave, but the king can't sell your stuff or give it away or free your own slaves. So that's what he's saying. I said the king is able to do what the owner is not able to do as well in managing the kingdom and looking after the needs of his citizen in that way. So the owner is stronger than the king in one way, and the king is stronger than the owner in other things. And the difference of these two attributes with regards to Allah is that king is an attribute of Allah. Within it is intrinsic meaning. Within Allah is an attribute. But Al-Malik is an attribute of his action. This is similar to what we said about Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim. Ar-Rahim, we said when we're looking at his actions of mercy. Ar-Rahman, we said when we are looking at his attribute with regards to him. So here Al-Shawkani is translating Al-Malik. Al-Malik and Al-Malik just the same way. Al-Malik is an attribute in itself in Allah. Al-Malik when we're looking at his actions. So the effect now, the effect is that the real king is Allah. There's no partner with him. And whoever who owns something is because Allah gave it to him. The Prophet ﷺ said in another hadith, La malika illa Allah. There's no owner except Allah. In another riwayah, La malika illa Allah. There's no king except Allah. And this hadith is mentioned in Sahih Muslim. And some creation can be called king if the kingdom is big. But the one who إذا اتسع ملكه, yes, if he's some sort of kingdom that big enough, except that the one who deserves this name is Allah, because he owns all the kings. There's no one else who can give someone kingdom, because Allah can give kingdom to whoever he wants. He can take it away. He can give might and strength to whoever he wants, and he can make someone weak, whoever he wants. All the khair is from him, and he is able on everything. So that's that. And creation, they don't own anything. And Allah actually has negated for the mushrikeen who are worshipping creation, similar to them, same level as them. Allah has actually negated that they own anything, because these are the creation that they're worshipping. They are as weak as them, and they are also slave of Allah, and they don't own anything. So Allah said in the ayah, to show that, he said, وَيَعْبُدُونَ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ مَا لَا يَمْلِكُ لَهُمْ رِزْقًا مِنَ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ شَيْئًا وَلَا يَسْتَطِيعُونَ. And they worship others beside Allah, such as do not and cannot own any provision for them from the heavens and the earth. Surah An-Nahl 73. In another ayah, he said, قُلْ أَتَعْبُدُونَ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ مَا لَا يَمْلِكُ لَكُمْ ضَرًّا وَلَا نَفْعًا وَاللَّهُ هُوَ السَّمِيعُ الْعَلِيمُ. O Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, tell them, say, O Muhammad, how do you worship besides Allah something which has no power either to harm or benefit you? But it is Allah who is the all-hearer, all-knower. Surah Ma'idah 76. In another ayah, he said, قُلِ ادْعُوا الَّذِينَ زَعَمْتُم مِّن دُونِ اللَّهِ لَا يَمْلِكُونَ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَلَا فِي الْأَرْضِ وَمَا لَهُمْ فِيهِمَا مِنْ شِرْكٍ وَمَا لَهُ مِنْهُمْ مِنْ ظَهِيرٍ. He's actually, this ayah is very important ayah actually. So let's look at the translation. Surah Sabah 22. Say, O Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to the polytheist, call upon those whom you assert to be associate gods beside Allah. Call upon them. They possess not even an atom weight, either in the heavens or on earth. So he negated their possession, first of all, because if you're worshiping someone, usually it's because of some stuff. If you're calling upon someone, usually there are things, some justification you have. So one of them could be like maybe they own something. So he negated the ownership here. They don't own anything little in this earth or in the sky, in the heavens. And then what did he say after that? If you don't own something, usually what happens? You might have partnership. So he said, nor have they any share in either. He negated partnership in the ownership. Also, sometime you may not have ownership or partnership, but you might have something else. Let's see. No, there is for him any supporter from among them. So if these creation that they're worshiping, they don't own anything, they don't have any partnership with Allah, maybe they thought they actually support Allah. Allah needs them. So if they supported Allah, then they're worshiping them because they also have some sort of power. But no, Allah is negating that. He's saying they don't have the power even to support Allah. So the ayah. Also in another ayah, okay, there's another ayah. وَالَّذِينَ تَدْعُونَ مِن دُونِهِ مَا يَمْلِكُونَ مِنْ قِطْمِيرٍ. And those it's actually here. It's actually here. وَالَّذِينَ تَدْعُونَ مِن دُونِهِ مَا يَمْلِكُونَ مِنْ قِطْمِيرٍ. Those and those whom you invoke or call upon instead of him, on not even a qitmir. A qitmir is actually a date stone. Surah Fatir 13. So Allah is the Malik. Allah is the owner of everything. And he has the power in its management. There's another ayah that says, كل يوم هو في شأن. كل يوم هو في شأن. Every day he is engaged in some affair. So such as giving honor or disgrace to some, life or death to some. Surah Rahman 29. And the Prophet ﷺ, in explanation of the ayah, he said, min sha'nihi, in his sha'an, in his affair is to forgive, an yaghfira dhanban wa yufarrija karban wa yarfa'a qawman wa yakhfida akharin. He forgives a sin, he removes a calamity, he raises some people and he lowers some people. In another ayah, he said, yu'ti mulkahu man yasha. He gives his kingdom to whoever he wants. Wallahu wasi'un alim. Allah is wasi' and great. Great. Okay. And there's another hadith from Abu Huraira. He narrated from the Prophet. He said, the Prophet ﷺ said, لا تسبوا الدهر. Don't curse the time. فإن الله عز وجل قال أنا الدهر. Allah said, I'm the time. That doesn't mean he is the time. It means he actually manages the time. He said, الأيام والليالي لي, days and nights are mine. أجددها وأبليها. I make them new, I make them old. وآتي بملوك بعد ملوك. I bring kings after kings. This hadith is Imam Ahmad narrated in his book. But some people, they exceed the limits and they think that they are the real owners of something. And they forget that he's just there temporary to own it. And Allah is going to choose who's the next person to own that possession. Because the person may not be able to use it and he may die and then someone will take over. So these people sometimes if they think they're the real owners, they become arrogant and they oppress others without any haqq. Like Allah has narrated about Fir'aun. What did Fir'aun do? Here. ونادى فرعون في قومه قال يا قوم أليس لي ملك مصر وهذه الأنهار تجري من تحتي أفلا تبصرون. And Fir'aun proclaimed among his people, O my people, is not mine the dominion, isn't it mine the dominion of Egypt and these rivers flowing underneath me? See you not then? Surah Zukhruf 51. So this is an example. Also again to do with Fir'aun. فَحَشَرَ فَنَادَى, Surah Nazi'at. فَحَشَرَ فَنَادَى, then he gathered his people and cried loud. فَقَالَ أَنَا رَبُّكُمُ الْأَعْلَى, saying, I'm your Lord Most High. So this is when they forget that they're not the real owners. And also he called upon his people to this, to mislead them. So in the dhalala, he brought them not in the guidance, the opposite, misguidance, yes. And they obeyed him, and Allah punished all of them. Allah says in the ayah, فَاسْتَخَفَّ قَوْمَهُ فَأَطَاعُوهُ إِنَّهُمْ كَانُوا قَوْمًا فَاسِقِينَ. Fir'aun befooled and misled his people, and they obeyed him. Verily, they were ever a people who were fasiqun. So verily these people were fasiqun, rebellious, disobedient to Allah. And in another ayah, he said, Allah, just next ayah, فَلَمَّا آسَفُونَا انْتَقَمْنَا مِنْهُمْ فَأَغْرَقْنَاهُمْ أَجْمَعِينَ. So when they angered us, we punished them and drowned them all. فَجَعَلْنَاهُمْ سَلَفًا وَمَثَلًا لِلْآخِرِينَ. Okay, that means, and we made them a precedence as a lesson for those coming after them, and an example to later generation. So that's fine. Next one. In another ayah, yes, Allah says, "Inna fi dhalika la'ibratan liman yakhsha." Verily, in this is an instructive admonition for whosoever fears Allah. So destroying Fir'aun, it's actually an admonition to every person who is an oppressor or arrogant among the kings of this earth. If someone thinks that he's going to live there forever, or forgets that his kingdom is going to disappear, is only temporary, and forget that one day they will die. In another ayah, Allah says, وَلِلَّهِ مُلْكُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَمَا بَيْنَهُمَا وَإِلَيْهِ الْمَصِيرُ. Here, this ayah. He says, and to Allah belongs the dominion of the heavens and the earth, and he wills and he punishes whom he wills. So he has the dominion. وَلِلَّهِ مُلْكُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَمَا بَيْنَهُمَا وَإِلَيْهِ الْمَصِيرُ. Yes, Allah belongs to him the dominion of the heavens and earth. On all that is between them, yes. So heaven and earth and what is in between them belongs to Allah, and to him is the return. We all return to him. So if the ownership, if the kingdom, pure kingdom, is for Allah, no partnership, the full obedience should be for him. So we should obey Allah because he has a soul, he's a sole owner, he's a sole king. Everything belongs to him. Everyone else among the kings in the earth, they are slaves to Allah and they are under his control. They are under his kingdomship. Sorry, they are under his kingdom. So we should put Allah's obedience. We should obey the king, the real king, over obedience of anyone else. And his ruling is above all other rulings because his obedience is more wajib, more compulsory than obeying anyone else. And لا طاعة لأحد إلا في حدود طاعته. We can't obey anyone except within the bounds of Allah's obedience. But to disobey Allah, if someone gives us an order to disobey Allah, we don't listen or obey. Another thing we benefit from learning this name is we are not allowed to name anyone. We are not allowed to name anyone الملك الملوك, the king of kings. There's a hadith narrated by Abu Hurairah. He said the Prophet ﷺ said, أخنع اسم عند الله. The worst name, I think, the disliked name by Allah. And Sufyan غير مرة, Sufyan also mentioned in this narration, he said, أخنع الأسماء عند الله رجل تسمى بملك الملوك. It is a disliked name or a bad name for a man to call himself the king of kings. In another riwayah, he said, أخنى الأسماء يوم القيامة. It is a bad name on the day of Akhirah. And then there's they say that the tafsir of Malik al-Muluk is called Shahan Shah. Shahan Shah is another word as well. It means the king of kings. The meaning of Akhna, it means low level. Yes. So it's a bad name. ومعنى أخنا as well, it also means bad name. Okay, Ibn Hajar said, Imam Ibn Hajar, he said, this hadith is dalil that it's haram to call yourself this name. It's similar to that. We can do the analogy. Khaliqul Khalq, the creator of the creation, or the ruler of all the rulers, or the kings of all kings, Sultanul Salatin, or Amirul Umara, the Amir of all Amirs. And there's another hadith narrated by Imam Ahmad in his Musnad, the hadith of Abu Hurairah as well. The Prophet ﷺ said, اشتد غضب الله, Allah's anger has increased. على من زعم أنه ملك الأملاك, whoever claims that he's the king of kings. لا ملك إلا لله, there's no ownership except for Allah. Al-Munawi in his Sharh, he said, whoever names himself with this name, even if he doesn't believe in it, it's wrong, because in reality there's no ownership or kingdom in reality except for Allah. So because this is actually like creating partnership in Allah's kingdom, is rububiyyah here. Tawheed rububiyyah, it interferes with it. It's the opposite here of doing Tawheed rububiyyah. Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah, he said, since kingdom, the real kingdom is for Allah, and there's no king in reality except Allah, then this name must be a bad name, a disliked. So to name someone with this name is actually the biggest batil, and Allah doesn't like باطل. Also to call yourself the judge of the judges can also be in analogy, and it's not allowed because we can use this analogy. Because there's no judge. The judge of the judges is the one who rules with haqq, and Allah is the best of ruling according to haqq. Allah, if he wants something, he says kun, be, and then it becomes. Another thing, Allah owns the day of akhirah, the day of judgment. So he said Malik Yawmiddin, the owner of the day of resurrection. In another ayah, he said وَلَهُ الْمُلْكُ يَوْمَ يُنْفَخُ فِي الصُّورِ. And he will be the dominion on the day when the trumpet will be blown. Also in another ayah, he said الْمُلْكُ يَوْمَئِذٍ لِلَّهِ يَحْكُمُ بَيْنَهُمْ. The sovereign on that day will be that of Allah. He will judge between them. And another ayah, الملك يومئذ الحق للرحمن. The sovereign on that day will be the true, on that day will be the true belonging to the most gracious. And in another ayah, he said, يوم هم بارزون لا يخفى على الله منهم شيء لمن الملك اليوم لله الواحد القهار. The day when he will come out, the day when they will come out, nothing of them will be hidden from Allah. Whose is the kingdom this day? Allah himself will reply to his question, to this question, or to his question. It is Allah, the one, the irresistible. Surah Ghafir number ayah 16. And in the Prophet, the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ mentioned Allah's kingdom as well, his ownership. It's mentioned actually in the Sunnah. There's a hadith that عن عبد الله بن مسعود قال جاء حبر إلى النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم فقال يا محمد أو يا أبا القاسم إن الله تعالى يمسك السماوات يوم القيامة على إصبع والأراضين على إصبع والجبال والشجر على إصبع. He said Allah will hold the skies on the day of judgment on a finger, and the earth on a finger, and the mountains and the trees on a finger, and water and soil on a finger, and the remaining creation on a finger. ثم يهزهن, and then he will shake them. فيقول, he will say أنا الملك, I'm the king. أنا الملك, I'm the king. And the Prophet laughed, because he laughed as in agreement to what Habr said. Habr is actually means scholar. It is a scholar from the Jews, from the Yahud, so it's called Habr. So when a scholar of the Jews said that, the Prophet ﷺ laughed because he agreed with him. And then he read this ayah. وَالسَّمَاوَاتُ مَطْوِيَّاتٌ بِيَمِينِهِ. So the Prophet agreed with the Jew of what he said, and he brought this ayah. وَالسَّمَاوَاتُ مَطْوِيَّاتٌ بِيَمِينِهِ سُبْحَانَهُ وَتَعَالَى عَمَّا يُشْرِكُونَ. He said the whole of the earth. What did he say? وَالْأَرْضُ جَمِيعًا, the day of the resurrection. The whole of the earth will be grasped by his hand. The all of the earth and the sky. وَالسَّمَاوَاتُ مَطْوِيَّاتٌ. Yes. وَالْأَرْضُ جَمِيعًا قَبْضَتُهُ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ. Yes. So the earth on the day of Qiyamah, it will be grasped by his hand, and the heavens will be rolled up. Yes. Will be rolled up in his right hand. Glorified be he, and high be he above all that they associate as partners with him. So Surah Zumar 67. And of course, here we mention a few attributes of Allah. We mentioned hand and we mentioned fingers. And Ahlul Sunnah's stance on this is that we affirm what Allah has affirmed and his Prophet ﷺ affirmed of any attribute. And we do not go into much details. So we follow 4 rules. We do ithbat, affirmation, but without comparison. We don't compare with creation. So bila tashbihin, they said. And also bila takyifin, without saying how. Also, third rule is bila ta'tilin, without negation. Also bila tahrifin, without adding there, some figurative speech by changing the meaning. So we don't change the meaning, we don't negate it, we don't compare, we don't say how. So when we say hand here, it doesn't mean that we're saying that it's like human hand. So, and also we don't know how. Going on, there's another hadith as well, Abdullah bin Umar narrated, just to give you some, where the hadith comes from. This hadith I'm going to mention is in Sahih Muslim. And the previous one actually is in Sahih Bukhari, yes. Okay, this one is قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يطوي الله عز وجل السماوات يوم القيامة ثم يأخذهن بيده اليمنى. He will roll up the sky on the day of judgment and he will take with his right hand ثم يقول أنا الملك أين الجبارون. He will say, I am the king, where are the snobbish people? أين المتكبرون, where are the arrogant people? ثم يطوي الأرضين بشماله. And also he will roll up the earth with his left hand. ثم يقول أنا الملك, I am the king. أين الجبارون, where is the snobbish people, where are the arrogant people? Would anyone respond on that day? No, they will always be weak. They will be weak on that day. And in this ayah, Allah said, وَخَشَعَتِ الْأَصْوَاتُ لِلرَّحْمَنِ فَلَا تَسْمَعُ إِلَّا هَمْسًا. He said, and all voices will be humbled for the most gracious, and nothing shall you hear but the low voice of their footsteps. Surah Anbiya 47. And among the rahmah of Allah to his creation is that he is the king, the only king on the day of judgment, because he is the one who, but okay, among his mercy, even though he is the king, he will actually take us into account with justice. He will not oppress or exceed the limit. He said, وَمَا رَبُّكَ بِظَلَّامٍ لِلْعَبِيدِ. Your Lord is not an oppressor of his slaves. This is Surah Fussilat, Ayah 46. And also he said, وَنَضَعُ الْمَوَازِينَ الْقِسْطَ لِيَوْمِ الْقِيَامَةِ فَلَا تُظْلَمُ نَفْسٌ شَيْئًا. We will bring the scales on the day of Akhirah, and no one will be oppressed anything. Surah Anbiya 47. So no one will be oppressed on that day. Al-Razi said another ruling that Allah is the king. He's not similar to other kings on earth, because the kings on earth, if they give sadaqah or if they give anyone anything, their kingdom is reduced, their possession is reduced, their storage is reduced. But Allah, his kingdom, his all possessions, they don't end by giving, but they increase. إذا اعتق ولد لم يتوجه حكمه إلا على ذلك الولد الواحد. So that rule, he said, if Allah gave you one child, his hukm will not go except on that child. But if he give you 10 children, his taklif or his hukm will be on all of them. So if he gives you, whenever he gives you more, then he has more ownership, more kingdom. Al-hukm al-thalith, the third ruling among him being the king, he's also got full mercy. So he's not just king, he also has mercy. And the dalil is in the ayah. When he mentioned his kingdom, he also mentions his mercy as well. So when he said Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, Malik Yawmiddin, he said the most gracious, the most merciful, and then the owner of the day of judgment. To show us that him being king, it doesn't mean that he's going to oppress us. He's also merciful. Also in another ayah here, he said that هو الله الذي لا إله إلا هو عالم الغيب والشهادة هو الرحمن الرحيم. So, and he is Allah beside whom la ilaha illa huwa. None has the right to be worshipped but he all knower of the unseen and the seen. He is the most gracious and the most merciful. Surah Hashr 23. So the reason why some attributes that come next to each other is because of that. There's a wisdom behind it. هو الله الذي, this is Surah Hashr, yes. And in another ayah as well, هو الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الملك. Here, this ayah, he says that he is the king. And then ثم ذكر بعده كونه قدوسا عن الظلم. Yes, because he said الملك القدوس. Here he said he's the king and also the holy. So to show that he's not going to oppress. He's pure. Assalamu al-mu'minu, and then he said Assalamu, free from all defects and the giver of security. And another point as well, another point to mention as well, Allah said الملك يومئذ الحق للرحمن. Here, the kingdom on that day, it belongs to him. And then he said Ar-Rahman, he mentioned his attribute Ar-Rahman, his name Ar-Rahman, to show us that we shouldn't fear to be oppressed just because he's king, because he's also Rahman. And also Surah An-Nas, he said قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ النَّاسِ, I seek refuge from the Lord of mankind, the king of mankind, Malik al-Nas, the king of mankind. He mentioned a Rabb to calm us down, because we might be thinking, oh, he's a king, what is he going to do to us? So he's our Rabb. He looks after us and looks after our affairs in the best way, in what is beneficial to us. So these ayahs shows that a king, a real king, is not going to be doing good or doing good things except by having rahmah and ihsan, mercy and giving favors to people. I mean, doing good to people. So all the kings should listen to these ayahs and be merciful to people, the Sheikh is saying here, and they shouldn't seek extra levels in kingdom over Allah's level of kingdom. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
سميتها بالروح والريحان في نظم أسمى ربنا الرحمن. أبدأ بسم الله ربي الأحد الواحد السيد والوتر الصمد.